You're looking at two Dubai properties, similar area, similar buildings, similar views. One is 1,000 square foot priced at 1.8 million dirhams. The other is an off-plan 650 square foot priced at 1.4 million dirhams. Which one's the better deal? If you answered the smaller unit because it's cheaper, you just fell for the oldest trick in the developer's playbook. And right now, in what everyone's calling a correction, this trick is very common. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how developers are manipulating the numbers to make stagnant markets look like bargains, and more importantly, how to spot the real opportunities hiding in plain sight. I've been working in real estate for over 20 years. I've been through the 2014 cycle here in Dubai, I've been through COVID, and I've watched multiple boom and bust cycles play out in this city. Every single time, the investors who came out ahead were not the ones who bought the cheapest properties. They were the ones who understood what they were actually paying for. Over those 20 years, I've helped clients deploy more than 5 billion dirhams into this market, and what I'm seeing right now in this so-called correction is the same pattern I've watched play out 3 times before. Today, I'm going to walk you through 3 things you must understand before you touch a single off-plan unit in this market. So let's get into it. Here's what most buyers are doing right now. They are comparing unit prices. They see absolute prices are down. They think they are getting a deal. They're not looking at one metric that actually matters, which is the price per square foot you're being sold at. And the cost of getting this wrong isn't just overpaying by 20 or 30%. It's buying into a development where the economics don't work, the developer can't deliver as per the standards promised, and your capital gets trapped in a project that either gets delayed or completes so poorly that the secondary market won't touch it. Now, the unit size game. Most investors think a correction means everything gets cheaper. Here's what's actually happening. Developers are keeping the price per square foot stable by shrinking the product. That 1,200 square foot 2-bedroom back in 2019 is now 850 square feet. Same price per square foot, smaller total ticket size, and they're calling it a market correction. Let me give you the data. We've analyzed multiple launches in Business Bay and downtown over the past few years. Industry research shows the average 2-bedroom unit, which used to be 1,150 square foot once upon a time, is today 900 square foot today. That's a 23% reduction in what you're actually buying. But here's the revealing part. The price per square foot has moved less than 4%. So when a developer tells you prices are down 20%, what they are really saying is they've shrunk the unit by 20%. You're not getting a discount, you're getting less property. Now, this is not the case with all developers, but quite a few of them. Now, what are the risks of this being read wrong? If demand picks up strongly and these smaller units hold value, the compression may not matter. But historically, undersized units trade at about 10 to 15% lesser in value in the secondary market than the larger ones. We are betting on the mean reversion. Here's what's happening on ground. Developers have construction costs to cover. Steel, concrete, material cost, none of them has gotten cheaper. So instead of taking a hit on margins, they are re-engineering the product. That spacious 2-bedroom in the render, check the floor plan. If the living room and bedroom combined are under 400 square foot, you're looking at a unit that won't age well. The actionable takeaway here is simple. Never compare unit prices without calculating price per square foot. Pull up the actual floor plans, measure the real living space, and apply the livability test. Would you personally live in this space? Or is it only viable as a rental income portfolio property? In a correction, square footage is the new luxury. Don't let developers convince you otherwise. But here's where it gets more complicated. Because even when you get the size calculation right, you can still get burned. Because not all price drops are what they appear to be. And the next mistake I'm about to show you is the one I see even experienced investors make sometimes. Now, before I get into that, if you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. I'll break down exactly this kind of analysis every single week. And with what's happening in Dubai market right now, you don't want to miss the next one. And I've also put together a free 2026 investor strategy kit. It walks you through how to build a high yield portfolio in today's market. what to target, what to avoid, and how to structure your entry. Link is in the description below. Now, let's get into the second thing, real distress versus repricing. Here's what most people miss about corrections. Not all price drops are created equal. There's genuine distress, developers who need to move inventory to meet real financial obligations, and then there's what I call repricing theater. Developers who've marked up 40% in the boom and are now discounting 15% to manufacture urgency. Now, I had a client, a Swiss investor, who was willing to allocate somewhere around 2.5 million dirhams into a property, who came to us excited about a discounted distress deal with a very big developer. When he showed me the offer letter or the sales offer, I went through that. And when I showed him the DLD transaction data, he was really surprised. The reality was the prices of this particular project, the developer, because their strategy was just giving discounts and selling, they had priced the property 30-40% more higher than what the actual price was. And they were offering discounts so that people felt that they're getting it at a discount. Now, when we saw the DLD transaction data, the investor realized that the price what he's getting is nothing special. Most of the transactions which were registered of similar units were registered at the same price, which means this was just a marketing strategy from the developer to actually sell. This is what I call not a deal, but theater. These are marketing gimmicks, guys, which people, do this a lot of times. And now this takes us back to, September 2008, the day Lehman Brothers went under. In the months that followed, Dubai saw two types of developers. Those with real obligations who cut prices probably 30-40% to generate cash flow, and those who held firm, betting on a quick recovery. The first group survived. The second group's projects probably didn't complete. But that's 2008. Things have changed a lot now. Now, what could break this analysis? If credit conditions tighten faster than expected and more developers face genuine crash crunches, we could see some distress pricing across the board. Right now, that's not what the data shows. Dubai Land Department figures indicate transaction volumes are down by about 18% year on year, but values per square foot in prime areas are only down by about 5-6%. Here's the pattern I track. Genuine distress shows three patterns. The developer has multiple projects running simultaneously. Their construction finance is milestone based, not pre-sale based, and they are offering payment plans that extend well past project completion. These developers need cash flow, not headlines. The insight here is this. Use the developer stress test. Check how many projects they are running, what percentage is sold versus what's completed, whether they are offering post-handover payment plans. Real distress creates real opportunity. Discounts are psychological. Payment terms are economics. Always focus on the second. But knowing how to read developer distress still doesn't answer the most dangerous question in this market right now. Which developers do you actually trust with your capital? Because not all developers are playing the same game. And getting this wrong is where investors lose everything. And now let me show you the framework. I call this the quality gradient framework. Right now, the market is splitting into three distinct tiers. And understanding which tier you're buying into determines everything about your outcome. Tier 1. The large listed balance sheet heavy developers are holding prices. They might adjust payment plans or give some DLD waivers, but price per square foot stays firm. Why? Because they have the balance sheet to take care of, and institutional buyers need their product for portfolio allocations. You're not getting a meaningful deal here in a correction. These are usually cash-rich developers backed by the government. But one thing here is that your money here is absolutely safe. Then comes the tier 2, where the real opportunity lives right now. These are established developers with verifiable track records, multiple completed projects, consistent on-time delivery, proven sales records. Now, here you look for developers who have at least 5 completed handovers in the last 2-3 years and no material delays on record. These developers are making genuine pricing adjustments right now, not marketing games, but real repricing to maintain transaction velocity. This is where you want to be focused. Now, just because I say it's tier 2 doesn't mean that their locations are bad or their quality is bad. I'm just separating them by, for our framework of which developers to focus on. But this doesn't mean when I say a tier 2, that doesn't mean that these developers are not good or you cannot make money. Then comes the tier 3, which is the danger zone for me. Either first time developers, single project entities, developers with over the top marketing. This is one big red flag. They'll offer the biggest discounts, the most aggressive payment plans, and the shiniest renders. They are also most likely the ones who will not complete projects on time. Even if they complete their projects on time, they are the ones who will see that their projects don't really appreciate. The reason being, they sell you at a very high price by doing a lot of marketing, by promising, over promising, and under delivering. Now, I want to be honest where I could be wrong here. RERA publishes escrow account requirements, and that protection matters. But here's what those rules don't tell you. A developer can be fully compliant with escrow requirements and still face delays. Now, this is not just because they don't have the money, but sometimes you have to understand the developer is not well equipped to complete projects on time. Also, this doesn't guarantee that the developer will build a very good quality, because a quality is, there is a standard Dubai building code. But when it comes to the finishes, the design, this is something the RERA is not really bothered about. They are bothered about of a standard that all the buildings or projects need to be completed at an acceptable standard. But that does not mean that the design has to be of a certain standard. No, that's up to the developer. And this is where the real play comes in, guys. You have to understand this, that, the protection is there for the investors. Your money is safe. You will get the keys, and there's no doubt about it. But what you will get, that is the big question mark. So here's your framework. The quality gradient filter for every opportunity. Score it on 5 factors. Factor number 1, the developer track record and how many on-time completions. And this is the most important thing, the appreciation clients made in their projects in the past. You have to go and check this out. Without checking this, do not get into a commitment with a developer. Number 2, balance sheet strength. Can they weather a sustained downturn? Is the developer cash rich enough to complete the project even if they don't sell out everything? Number 3, the pipeline depth. Are they over leveraged across too many projects? Number 4, check the construction progress on site. Are their sites active and are they going up? Are they handing over? And number 5, the buyer profile. Who else is buying into this project? If it scores anything less than 3 out of 5, the discount is not worth the risk. Just walk away. In a correction, quality costs less than what you think, but it never comes free. Now, everything I've covered today applies to off-plan new development mostly, but that raises a question I haven't answered yet. What about ready properties in the secondary market? How do you buy during a correction? When does buying an existing unit actually make more sense than going off-plan? That's exactly what I'm going to be breaking down in my next video, guys. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Now, before you go, drop a comment below. Tell me which tier of the developer you have been looking at and what's the project. I'll give you my honest take on it. If you found this useful, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the kind of analysis reach more investors you need it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, guys, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help me grow it. If Dubai is in your radar and you want a clear plan built around your specific situation, your budget, your passport, your timeline, book a strategy call with my team. The link is in the description below. We'll look at your objectives and your constraints, and we'll tell you honestly whether Dubai makes sense for you right now. And if it doesn't, we'll tell you that too. I'm Tahir Majithia, and I help my investors invest in Dubai with a plan and not a pitch.